My 83 Porsche 944 is not running, and well, I think it's the fuel pump. In fact, I know it's the fuel pump. You might be thinking it could be the DME relay. It's not. It's the fuel pump. And in this video, I'm going to show you a couple troubleshooting techniques, and then I'm going to show you how to replace it. For troubleshooting, at a minimum, you're going to need this test light. If there's just one of you, then you'll probably want some nice test leads too, and definitely a flashlight so you can see what you're doing. If you don't have this stuff, there's links in the description where you can find it. You can totally do all of this on the ground. It's not a problem, but for me to make a video, I kind of need the lift. Where exactly is the fuel pump? On the back passenger side, right kind of back here. It's a lot easier to find from underneath. It's right here, and yeah, I know that looks new. That's because I replaced it about 6 months ago, and now it's bad again. I suspect it was a Bosch counterfeit part, and that's why it went bad as fast as it did. But that's a different issue. At any rate, here's your rear tire, and if you look, it's kind of right behind it. For making the video, it's easier for me to disconnect the fuel pump, but you don't need to do this to test it. On the fuel pump, they are marked negative and positive, and you can also tell because the holes on the connectors here are actually different sizes. So if there's two of you, what you do is you hook your negative up here, and then you touch your test probe to the positive, and you tell your friend to go ahead and turn the key on. Now, obviously make sure the emergency brake's on and it's not in gear and all that. I mean, be safe. And so what should happen is this will light up. Now, because it's just me, we're gonna have to do the alternative method. Okay, let's unwind a bunch of our test lead here, just by pulling. We're gonna throw one set over by the driver's door. We're gonna hook the other end to the fuel pump wires. Positive, negative. And then we're gonna separate them really well. So now on the other end, we're gonna take the test light, hook up our negatives, take our positive, and just put it right on the probe like that. Now, solo, you can just turn the key on and see whether or not this lights up. Okay, we're gonna turn our key, and look at that. So that lets us know that our fuel pump is getting juice when it's cranking. So therefore, the DME relay, or fuel pump relay, is working just fine, and it's the fuel pump that's got the problem. Another thing we can do with these leads, though, is we can hook the leads directly to the fuel pump and then hook those leads to another battery or the car battery and see whether or not the fuel pump fires up. So yeah, kind of like this. I'm going to take the negative, hook it to the negative post, hook the positive to the positive post. I just happen to have a battery here. Hook up that positive, and then all I'm going to do is touch the negative and listen for the fuel pump. You see it's sparking. I can hear the fuel pump like attempting to start, but it's not starting. As a side note, if you want to try that, make sure you're tapping that negative to the battery and not to the fuel pump, just in case there's any gas at all anywhere near. Here are some of the tools you might need to complete this job. A regular screwdriver, a Phillips screwdriver, a 19, and then this is a deep 6 and 7. I definitely meant 7 and 8 millimeter, not 6 and 7, because 6, 7 is that weird whatever. Anyway. And then a pair of vice grips. Yes, I know this is 27 different brands of tools. Don't judge. Almost forgot, you're gonna probably need a 17 as well. And you seriously do need the vice grips. Let me show you. All right, so let's take these vice grips first. So what you're gonna wanna do is put the vice grips on this line. Now, piece of advice, if you're working on a barn find 944 that's been sitting around for a while, then you're gonna wanna order a new one of those lines, and that is a preformed line, so you need to order it, you know, from Porsche, probably like Pelican, I think, because that thing's probably old and brittle and needs to be replaced. Also, if you disconnect it right here, you can drain your gas tank and get out all that gross skunked gas. But I did that 6 months ago, so I just want to use these vice grips to pinch off this line so it doesn't leak gas all over the place. All right, we've got this vice grip. Now we're gonna go ahead and take these off. I've already taken them off. Again, these are 6 and 7. So just kind of put them out of the way. Of course, make sure your key's not on. Maybe disconnect the battery. That'd probably be a good idea. Working with gasoline, don't want any sparks. Now you're gonna take this big nut off here. That is a 19. And you're probably gonna have to take a 17 right here. Hold that. And then this just comes off. And something else you might want to have handy is something to catch any fuel. Shouldn't be much if your fuel pump's not working. So the nut's off, but I'm going to leave the line connected and then work on this one. On mine, this is a flat blade. On yours, it might be something else. So I replaced this clamp. By the way, these are generally special clamps. You need to use fuel injection. Well, this one's not that big a deal. On the other end, it would have to be. This line is pulling fuel from the gas tank, so it's not high pressure. On the other side, it's high pressure, and you have to use high pressure clamps. This is a high pressure clamp because I had some. But keep that in mind. A little bit of gasoline in there. Now I'm just going to take the Phillips and get this off. We're going to take this off. And now we can just bring that out. There is a little brass ring that needs to be transferred over. It just goes right there. Let me just set this in here. There, that's on. And now I'm going to go ahead and put this back on just because it's weeping gasoline all over the place. There. The small peg is actually the positive and the large is the negative. So our green is actually positive and our red is negative. Doesn't really matter when you're troubleshooting because the test light will light up either way. So with this in here, we can kind of rotate it to a good spot. Tighten this clamp down. All right, that's good. Twist this up out of the way. Tighten up this clamp. So we're gonna put this 19 back on here. This is also a good time to replace the fuel filter, which is right above the camera. Get that good and tight. And now we can take our vice grips off. By the way, if your vice grips damage the line, you definitely need to replace it. This line is not damaged, but if yours was, then you definitely need to replace it. These just go back on the way you took them off. I like to put on the little connector first, that way you know you got it right. Because it'll only fit on one of them. The larger connector will fit on both. Alright, put our boot on it. Alright, let's put you on. Make sure you wipe off any stray gasoline so that when you look under here to check if there's any leaks, you know for sure if you see gas, there's a leak. Alright, let's try it out. There she goes. I really need to fix those wiper blades. Maybe the next video will address that. Links in the description for everything I used, and thanks for watching, and I'll see you down the road. Don't forget to check and make sure it's not leaking.